This exchange captures one of the most confrontational moments of the hearing, as Representative Ramirez directly accuses Secretary Kristi Noem of lying to Congress and defying court orders. What unfolds is less a policy debate and more an indictment of how immigration enforcement power is being exercised and resisted at the highest levels.
American citizens have been arrested or detained. We focus on those that are here illegally.
Secretary Noem, you lie and you lied to the American people. I will be including into the record an article by ProPublica from October 16, 2025, entitled, "We found that more than 170 U.S. citizens have been held by immigration agents. They've been kicked." There's nothing smiling about U.S. citizens. I'm sorry, that's very inappropriate. Let me continue. They've been kicked, dragged, and detained for days. The next one.
The Trump administration has specifically targeted the worst of the worst. The individuals that we are going after are those that are violent criminals, those that are breaking our laws.
Secretary Noem, again, you lied to the American people. I will be including into the record an article by the NBC News from December 7, 2025, entitled, "ICE has arrested nearly 75,000 people with no criminal records, data shows." The co-equal branch of government, and it is your obligation as a member of the executive branch to honor decisions made by the highest court of the land. Yes or no, Secretary?
We are abiding by all federal judges' orders. Absolutely.
So the Justice Department said that when the administration was ordered back in March to stop sending detained migrants to a mega prison in El Salvador, you personally made the final call to continue the flights anyway. Is that correct?
And the decisions that are made on deportations, where flights go and when they go, are my decision at the Department of Homeland Security. And we'll continue to do the right thing, continue to work and protect Americans, no matter what radical judge comes out and tries to stop us. We'll do.
You lied on the record, and you lied to members of this committee. You violated court orders by not turning around deportation flights bound for El Salvador, where we know that hundreds of people under your leadership have reported that they were raped, they were beaten, and they nearly died. And your agents used chemical weapons in Chicago despite court orders from District Court Judge Ellis forbidding their use. Secretary Noem, you, Gregory Bovino, and your ICBP and DHS deputized agents have waged an unaccountable, unlawful, unconstitutional war against communities across the nation. Our residents have been surveilled, they've been threatened, they've been tear gassed, they've been hit with pepper balls, they've been shot, they've been subjected to warrantless arrest and precision immobilization maneuvers, they've been kidnapped and disappeared under your leadership. So we have a lot to talk about, but you and your department continue to reject congressional oversight. And you know how I know this? I know this because I've requested a meeting with ICE Field Office Director Russell Hutt. I requested a meeting with Field Office Director Samuel Olson. And when you came to Chicago on October 3rd, I publicly and formally requested a meeting with you. So I'm going to be including a letter I sent on October 3rd requesting a meeting with Secretary Noem. So Secretary Noem, I want to ask you again, will you commit to meet with me, yes or no?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have a lot to talk about. And actually, my scheduler has a couple dates that I'll get to you after this meeting. I appreciate that. So look, I want to be very clear. You have misused resources appropriated by Congress. You've engaged in unethical behavior. You have repeatedly made false and misleading statements to Congress and to the press, and you've undermined the separation of powers and disregarded the role of Congress and the courts. Bottom line, you lie with impunity. You reject checks and balances, and you ignore Congress and the courts. Your options are limited. Either you're going to resign, Trump's going to fire you, or you will be impeached. I've already called for your resignation. You may remember I hand-delivered my request to you back in May, and I urge you to reconsider resignation because I've taken the first step towards your impeachment, and I've called on the Judiciary Committee to open an investigation into your lawlessness. Mr. Chairman, I know that at the end we'll be entering a number of articles into consent, but since I have a few moments, I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a letter calling the Judiciary Committee to investigate Secretary Noem's impeachable offenses. Whatever you choose, the American people will have justice, Secretary, and you will be held accountable. I'm going to make sure of that every single day.
In this exchange, the tension between congressional oversight and executive authority erupts into a sharp confrontation. Senator Ramirez directly challenges Secretary Noem, repeatedly asserting, "You lie to the American people," highlighting documented cases where U.S. citizens were detained despite assurances that enforcement targeted only unauthorized immigrants. Citing ProPublica and NBC News, Ramirez anchors her argument in verified data, showing that over 170 U.S. citizens were held by immigration agents and nearly 75,000 individuals without criminal records were arrested. This is not partisan rhetoric. It is an empirical contradiction between executive claims and observable outcomes. Legally, the episode raises fundamental questions about executive discretion and accountability. While the executive branch has broad authority under Article 2 to enforce immigration laws, that authority is not unlimited. Federal agencies must comply with court orders and respect congressional oversight. Allegations that Secretary Noem continued deportation flights to El Salvador, despite judicial prohibitions, implicate potential contempt of court and a breach of the separation of powers. Ignoring judicial mandates undermines the constitutional checks designed to prevent executive overreach. Ramirez also details abuses reported under DHS and ICE operations, chemical weapons in Chicago, warrantless arrests, surveillance, and violent enforcement measures, emphasizing the human cost of unchecked authority. These examples are not merely anecdotal. They illustrate a systemic pattern of resistance to oversight and disregard for both legal and ethical obligations. Executive officials are sworn to uphold the law and provide truthful testimony to Congress. Misrepresentations, if substantiated, constitute a serious violation of public trust. The senator highlights deliberate obstruction of congressional oversight, citing multiple formal requests for meetings that were ignored. Such avoidance of accountability erodes one of the core pillars of democracy, the legislature's ability to monitor the executive. This sets the stage for her calls for resignation or impeachment, grounded in precedent and principle. Impeachment is a constitutional mechanism designed to address abuses of power, obstruction, and violations of law, making these allegations not symbolic, but institutionally significant. Ethically, the reported abuses amplify the stakes. The detention, mistreatment, and endangerment of individuals under DHS authority represent not only potential legal violations, but profound moral failures. Public expectations demand that enforcement measures respect human rights and due process, obligations that intersect with both domestic and international law. The broader significance is clear. Accountability in government requires more than legal rules. It depends on transparency, adherence to oversight, and ethical conduct. By compiling evidence, including verified reports and formal congressional records, Ramirez constructs a narrative that exposes a pattern of impunity, obstruction, and abuse of power. The repeated refrain, "You lie with impunity, you reject checks and balances, and you ignore Congress and the courts," underscores the institutional stakes and the necessity of action to preserve democratic norms. Ultimately, this exchange exemplifies the tension inherent in a system of separated powers. Executive agencies operating outside legal constraints and ignoring oversight threaten both individual rights and democratic integrity. Mechanisms such as judicial review, congressional oversight, and impeachment exist precisely to prevent such abuses. Ramirez's relentless questioning reinforces that in a constitutional democracy, no official is above the law, and public accountability is essential to protecting both citizens and institutions.